This conference
So
will now be recorded.
let us take an example of one or two case studies. Consider that you are using a mobile called as iPhone. Consider that iPhone is global product. iPhone is a global product. iPhone is spread across the world. Across the world, iPhone subscribers are present. Now consider that iPhone company CEO comes to you and tell that I want to get a review of iPhone products. I want you to do survey on iPhone products and get me the analysis in next 3 months. I want your feedback on next 3 months. Will you be able to cover all the mobile users across the globe? Will you be able to cover across the globe within 3 months?
No, it's not
No,
possible.
it's not possible. Even if we give you 1 year also, it's not possible, right? Because by the time you come back, they
Right.
might have released the next version of iPhone. Next version of iPhone. So what you do is, so generally, let me take an example of total mobile phone users of iPhone users across the globe is, let me take it as 2 million. 2 million.
Million.
2 million. Out of this 2 million customers, 2 million customers, 1 lakh is from India. I'm just taking as example of 1 lakh from India, 1 lakh from US, 1 lakh from UK, and another 1 lakh from Canada, another 1 lakh from Germany. Like this, across the globe, it has spent. So you want to do some analysis on this. This is the total population data for iPhone users is 2 million across the globe, and you cannot reach out to this 2 million customers. You will try to go for sampling frame. Sampling frame. Next step is sampling frame. This is your first population part, and this is your 2 million users. From 2 million users, you go for a sampling frame. So what is the sampling frame is, you're going to select out of global population, you're going to select only 2 countries. For example, it can be 1 country, 2 country, or 3 country, but for example, I'm going to choose only US and UK. Out of 2 million customers, there are 3 lakh customers from this region, that is US and UK. You choose this as sampling frame. You choose this as sampling frame. So from 2 million, you have come down to 3 lakhs now. So you cannot reach each and every customer who is using iPhone in US and UK. So out of this, you are going to apply a technique called as SRS. You're going to apply a technique called as SRS. It is nothing but simple random sampling. Simple random sampling technique. So the simple random sampling technique, what it does is, you will go for US and UK. This is considered this as your entire population. This is your entire population. Out of this entire population, this part is called as US and UK. This is your sampling frame. Whatever the red box I have marked, that is your sampling frame. This bigger circle is nothing but your population. This is population. This is sampling frame. Now coming to this part, out of sampling frame of US and UK, I'll not be able to reach out each and every single customer. So on this sampling frame, I'm going to apply a technique called as SRS. SRS stands for simple random sampling. Out of this simple random sampling, I'm going to choose some 20,000 customers or subscribers who are using iPhone in US and UK. US and UK, I'm choosing this 20,000 customers. This 20,000 customers are called as sample. This 20,000 customers are called as sample. And this part, this US and UK part is called as sampling frame. And this, your technique, you're applying a technique, right? That
Hello.
technique to choose this 20,000 is called as simple random sampling.
Yogesh, there was some issue from my end. I didn't get you the point. Can you tell me that SRS again?
Yes, I'll tell you what is SRS again. So SRS is a technique.
Yeah, from there again.
SRS is a Yes, SRS is a technique which stands for simple random sampling. Simple random sampling means in this entire sampling frame, that US and UK, you are only choosing randomly, you are choosing 20,000 customers out of your US and UK. US and UK consist of 3 lakh customers, but you cannot go to survey for each and every customers across US and UK for each and every subscriber. So you're applying some simple random sampling technique. That simple random sampling technique is nothing but randomly you are choosing this 20,000 customers. Randomly you can choose any of the 20,000 customers from this US and UK. You are not having any specific condition to choose these customers. I'm not giving any condition that this particular person's age should be greater than 50. No, age should be less than 50. No, you are not having any condition to choose this 20,000 customers. So that is called as simple random sampling. Random sampling is nothing but randomly you are picking 20,000 customers out of 3 lakh customers. Another simple example I'll give you. Recently, like probably next year we have 2019 elections. 2019 elections we have. So consider this bigger circle as your India. This is nothing but your India. India's total population is, let me put it as 120 CR. This is your population. So you cannot go to each and every person to get a survey whether which party is going to win in next 2019 election. So what you'll do is, out of this 120 crore population, you are going to come to some 2 or 3 cities. You might choose Bangalore, Delhi and Hyderabad. This becomes my sampling frame. This becomes my sampling frame. So if you take this Bangalore, Delhi and Hyderabad, you might get a population of approximately around 2 crores. Just take an example of 2 crores. From 120 crores, you come down to sampling frame. That sampling frame consists of 2 crores for population. So you cannot go to each and every person in Bangalore, Delhi and Hyderabad. Will you go? Will you be able to reach out to each and every single person in Bangalore, Delhi and Hyderabad?
No.
So what you will do is, next part what you do is, you are going to apply a technique called as SRS. This SRS is called as simple random sampling. So this SRS technique, you are going to apply it, and then you are going to choose 25,000 people. Yes, 25,000 from this Bangalore, Delhi and Hyderabad. These are your final sample. So you'll be just doing a survey of these 25,000 people, and then you are going to showcase that next year 70% of people tells that BJP is going to win, and another 20% of people tells that Congress is going to win, and another 10% of people will tell that coalition government will be formed, right? But they will not tell that we have done a survey only of 25,000 people. Will they tell? Will they tell?
I don't think so.
They will never tell this. They will only tell that 70% of people are following Modi or BJP, whatever it is. But ultimately, they have done only with a survey for 25,000 people. But they will extrapolate with respect to the total population of India. That is how the sampling frame works.
But yeah, Yogesh, one question is there. Here we no need to bother about the accuracy.
See, as I told you, data science is, you cannot rely on 100% accuracy. You cannot rely on 100% accuracy. You'll be telling with respect to 95% confident or 90% confident. See, everything is here R&D. You are doing some research and you're giving the answer. It is trial and error. Total data science itself is trial and error. Real-time problems are like that only, right? For example, if you consider that if you go for an hospital for a surgery, doctor will not guarantee you until unless he completes the surgery, right? What he will tell? I'll try my 99% best, right?
Yeah.
Output will be after the operation itself. So here also it is something like this. So here also you'll be talking with respect to real-time problems itself. You will tell that 99% BJP will win. But until and unless you get the actual result, will you know who is going to win? Never. No. So it works like this itself in real-time problems. Yes. Whichever project you take, it will be working with respect to real-time projects will be working like this: 99% confident, 90% confident, 85% confident. We'll try to see what is this 80%, 90% in the coming classes. Bharat and Bhupendra, please be on mute if you don't have any questions. Any other questions? Megha, Ranjini, Lahari, Rakesh, Devanshu.
Fine. This was about simple sampling Simple sampling. What?
SRS stands for simple random sampling.
Okay, so I got the concept.
Okay, it is just a technique. So it is just a technique means randomly you are picking. That's it. See, this is your population, and out of this population you are choosing this small sample, and that is called as your random sample. That's it.
Okay, you said something like frame, no?
Sampling frame. So sampling frame is, I told you, right? Bangalore, Delhi, and Hyderabad. Instead of choosing entire India, you are choosing only these three places. This is called as your sampling frame. You are choosing some particular region. That's it.
If my data is very less, shall I go with the population?
If your data is less means, see, less means how less it is, how much less it is.
Take 1,000 lines, something.
Then if it is 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, also not a problem. You can choose entire data. But I'm telling in a general way, because if you talk about telecom data itself, let me give an example of telecom data itself. In your real case projects, consider that you're working for telecom churn analytics. Telecom churn analytics. So from past 2 to 3 years, there is a big revolution because of Jio. Because of Jio, most of the customers are porting to Jio and most of the customers are purchasing Jio. If you consider this, Jio has alone 225 million customers only from 2 years. Okay. Consider that one person, only one customer is daily is making a call of only one call per day. One customer is doing one call per day. It will be 225 million calls per day.
Yes.
Calls per day.
Yes.
Consider that you want to analyze 2 years data. What would be the data size? It will be 225 million
into
yes, into 730 something, right?
Yes.
So just imagine how big the data would be with respect to population. You'll not be able to access this. That is the reason I told you should go with respect to sample. So that is the 99% chances that you'll be going with respect to sample. 1% if you are lucky enough, you'll be working on real-time population data. Data. I think somebody was asking some other question, Megha. Yes.
Yeah. So you have selected some data from Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad.
Yes.
Sample data, sample random
Simple random sampling.
Something
SRS.
data. Simple
yes.
random, yeah, SRS. But what happened if that is not the correct case? Means I'm selecting that it's wrong.
See,
the data itself is not accurate. I was not knowing that one.
Data is not accurate in the sense. What do you mean by that? Data itself is not accurate. What do you mean by that?
See, based on these three states, you are selecting that BJP is having a maximum number of accuracy to win, 70%. But that may be wrong also, right? If I'm selecting some other state.
That is the reason I'm telling that it can also be wrong. That is the reason I'm telling it as randomly you are choosing. You are not choosing. You are not giving any condition that you want to choose only Bangalore people. You want to choose only Delhi people. I'm telling it as Bangalore, Delhi, Hyderabad. You can talk to any of them and you can pick any of them.
So are we taking multiple random samples here?
Yeah, you can take multiple random samples. If you want, you can take 2 more samples also or 3 more samples. How many samples you want, you can pick. It is not only with respect to only Bangalore, Delhi and Hyderabad. This is just an example I gave. You can take any other samples also. You can take from one from north, one from east, one from west and one from south.
Okay. Yeah.
That is how you choose your random sample.
So if you take like 3 to 4 sample, so if you like take 2 to 3 sample frames, then the record will be the average.
No average. No average. You can take this sample as one, and you can take one more sample as one, and you can take one more sample as one more sample as one. You can take multiple samples. There is no average concept still.
Okay.
There's no average concept.
For all the sample frames, the results will be different.
Yes, obviously different. Then what you can do is with respect to see, if you are choosing this as one sample, this as one sample, this as one sample, you can consider this entire thing as one sample, right? Whatever you are picking from, this is Bangalore, this is Delhi, this is Hyderabad, right? So this is Bangalore, this is Delhi, this is Hyderabad. Compared to if you pick 5,000 customers from here, 5,000 customers, 5,000 customers from here, this 15,000 will become your sample. So they are spread across north, east, west, right? Like that.
Okay, so basically we have to sum up everything.
Yes. See, everything is
Okay.
trial and error in your data science machine learning. Prediction
Okay.
itself is probability. What is the probability of you getting promoted? What is the probability of raining today? Everything is probability, chances.
Mhm.
Megha, you were asking something. Ratnesh, Sanjay.
Yeah, I'm clear.
Yes, Yogesh.
Yogesh.
I do have a
Okay.
question. So while choosing the sample frame, from your experience, how human bias and influence can play a big role? Because if I take this example of who will be winning next year election, and
Yes.
if I am a media channel, I know that there are few cities where some of the political parties have big influence. So I'll be choosing the cities
Yes, that is
intentionally.
something
Yeah.
called as biasing, right? So if I choose
Yeah.
only Bangalore, or if I choose only, for example, let us consider with respect to Karnataka itself. If you choose only Mysore or Mandya, probably will be having an bias towards JDS, right? If you choose something
Yeah.
else, there will be bias towards your BJP. Somebody, if you choose, there might be bias towards your Congress. So that's the reason. So while choosing your sample, also you should choose randomly. You should not choose only particular region. You can choose anything. It can be random. That's the reason I'm telling you it is random. Picks and 10 from Mysore, 10 from Mandya, 10 from Bangalore, 10 from Delhi, 10 from Hyderabad, 10 from Karnataka, 10 from, like this you can choose. Whichever region you want choose, you can choose that as your random. The name itself says it is random sample. You can choose anyone. Blind. It is also called as blindfold technique. It is also called as blindfold technique. So blindfold technique means it is blindly
It
you're
makes
picking
sense.
whomever you want. Blindly you're picking whomever you want. That is called as your blindfold technique.
Yeah, unless it's
Yogesh,
blindfolded, it's not random.
Yes.
Thank you.
yeah, that means the selection should be more actually. The
Selection should
selection.
be more. It depends. See, generally what we do is in
No,
real-time applications of the projects, I'll tell you. Real-time projects, if you're getting 1 million records, out of this 1 million records, randomly we choose 30% as sample. This is the thumb rule. 30% should be your sample size. It is not standard that we should keep only 30%. It is 30% is the standard. We are going to keep sample size.
so that means you should select the multiple regions, but the quantity of the data might be the less.
It
To get
depends.
the
See, if you are having 1 million records, if you are choosing 30% means it is 3 lakh records. If you are having 1 billion records, then it will be big, right? Everything depends on your total population. 30% is your sample. 30% can be your sample. That's it.
Got it.
Okay.
Hi, Yogesh.
So now let us. Yes.
Ratnesh.
Yeah, Ratnesh, tell me.
What is the in the real-time project? Who will decide on what samples are to be taken? Suppose I join as an entry level or a mid level
See, at an
analyst.
entry level, yeah, at an entry level of data scientist or a junior data analyst or a junior data scientist, what they will do is they'll try to give you the data. They'll try to give you the data. If possibly, if they give you access to a population data, then out of this population, you can randomly pick 30,000 records. I'm just telling 30% records. If you're having 1 lakh records, you can pick only 30,000 records as your sample. You need not have to ask anyone. You need not have to ask anyone for this. This is called as random sample. See, first you should understand that it is the name itself says random sample. Why you want to ask somebody else?
No, because I
This
don't
is a
want
famous
to.
technique.
No, because I don't know whether my samples taken, I can generalize over the entire data set or I cannot generalize. So that is my question.
You have to generalize. See, you cannot go for each and every person. And it doesn't mean that you cannot pick one person from so and so region. Each and every state you cannot go. Each and every village there are people. Each and every gram panchayat there are people. You cannot go to each and every village, and we cannot go to each and every town to pick people, right? So everything
Yeah.
is generalization. Once you pick a sample, you are generalizing it towards the population. That's it. You have to generalize it. See, once if you are telling that 70% BJP will win, you are also telling with respect to remaining 20% or 30% Congress will also win. But you are telling this with 90% confident or 99% confident. That also depends.
Okay.
That is where your data science comes into picture. See, you are predicting about future. you're predicting about future. Future is uncertain, right? Future is uncertain. Yesterday we discussed about random variable. So what do I mean by random variable? Random variable is something probability, right? Some chance. Yes, random some chance associated with. You are also telling that 70% chance associated. Yes, 70% chance associated with BJP will win. You cannot take it as a consideration that I'm going to tell 100% confident. No, it's not like that, Ratnesh.
Okay. So, is there any other criteria that will I have to pick a random sample, or only I can just pick a certain set of random
See,
sample?
if
Is there any
see
weightage
one see there are some
associated?
other techniques as well. Then they will not be using those techniques in your real-time projects. There are some other techniques as well. We'll not be using that. See, as the name itself says, random sample means what?
Randomly, I'm just picking.
That's it. Randomly you're picking. That's it. There is no special
Okay.
explanation for this.
There are no attributes where I pick the randomly. There are no such attributes.
No, nothing. That is the reason it is given as random sample. Else they would have given some other name. Else they would have given some other names.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Yogesh, I'm asking something not related to this random. How you justify the size of the project and how you do the budget for this one? Because
Sizing and budgeting, you need not have to worry because that will be taken care by your companies. Because I cannot tell you with respect to, if you just tell about population and sample, I cannot tell you the budget of this project, right? It is
yeah,
nowhere related.
because what I'm asking, because my background on the projects management side, I do
Yes,
the
whatever
budget.
it is, but only for this, taking this into consideration, I cannot tell you the budget for what is this project involves and all, right?
No, generally in the say if in data science means what you just you're doing the prediction of the sales or prediction of the what are the how the manufacturing, how many products you produce and what will be. But
Yes.
if you want to do any project in the data science, when you do the budget for that one, how much is it costing in million and costing in the, just in the lakhs? How we justify the time of
See,
the
it will be,
project actually?
yeah, time of the project will be depending on what. See, if they are giving you the ready-made data for analysis, then it is fine. It can take 3 to 6 months of time. If they don't have this data itself, you want to collect the data from the database. You want to clean this data by applying some ETL transformations, everything. Then you need to move into the target table. Then you need to take the table data for your analysis. Then this might take around 3 months of data. So you need to plan for each and every strategy, for each and every step. Then you will be planning according to this budget, whatever the projects and how many resources is needed for this, and also you should have developers, ETL developers, SQL developers, and also you should have testing team, QA team to test whether the data that has been flowing from source to target, is it correct? After this, you need to get the data. Then your requirement gathering for your business analytics or data science starts from this point. Then you should plan the team, how many of them should be a senior data scientist, junior data scientist, and how many of them should be a team lead, project lead, and based on this you are going to do the budgeting and all.
Generally, the what methodology you follow in the data science with your experience, the project methodologies?
So that is what I told you. This is how we process. So we first talk with respect to the development team. First, they will try to develop with respect to whatever the data they have. Everything they will be pushing into some particular database. Then they move into this ETL in order to correctly fetch the data from it is flowing from.
These are all the process of the development in the project here. This is okay. But what methodology you follow generally in the for data science project? If you are doing any project, no, with Agile or
Agile. Yes.
Okay.
It is not only you are not going to fix with respect to Agile. Sometimes we also follow waterfall also.
Okay.
Waterfall also. It is not mandatory that you need to go with Agile. You can also use with respect to waterfall also.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So now coming to a very important topic called as measures of central tendency. So you should understand this is very, very important. And this measures of central tendency is also called as first moment business decision. When it comes to your business analytics terms or data science terms, it is called as first moment business decision. Business decision. First moment business decision. Why it is called as first moment business decision is because data science is also called as business analytics. Most of the business people will ask you, what is your average sales? First question, they'll start with what is your average sales? What is your average profit? What is your average salary? What is your average revenue? Everything they talk with respect to average. So that's the reason this measures of central tendency is called as your first moment business decision. First moment business decision. Try to note down this as a important key point. First moment business decision is nothing but it is called as your measures of central tendency. Measures of central tendency. So these are the statistical terms that try to find the center of the numbers that are in a group of data. So these three, mean, median, mode, these three are nothing but measures of central tendency. Measures of central tendency is nothing but mean, median, and mode. So let me write some numbers. So I want you all to calculate what is the mean for this. I think in some of my demo sessions I've already given this example, but I want you all to calculate this as a part of mean. Mean is nothing but average. So what is the average for this?
3.
It is 3. It is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if it is 3, I'll be writing one more number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 700. What is the average for this? It is 142 or 143. It is 142 or 143.
So how?
Ranjini, please be on mute, Ranjini. Yes.
So how just tell me how you have calculated measures here, on what basis?
You mean to say average? How do you calculate average? It is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. Hello?
But what is your value? So you are given this 1, 2, 3, 4. That one, huh?
Yeah, that is what I'm asking you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 700.
There should be
There is a lot of
142.
disturbance from your end, Bhupendra. Please be on mute, Bhupendra.
From my end, Yogesh.
Bhupendra, there is a lot of
Not
disturbance.
from my end.
It's from your end. Devanshu?
Yogesh, it's not from my end.
Okay. Yes. So you need to calculate average by taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divided by total number of values, right? How many numbers we have here?
5.
5. So that is your denominator part. This is your 1 plus 2
Got it.
plus 3
It's
plus
fine.
4 plus 5. It is divided by 5 is nothing but 15 by 5 is nothing but my 3. So this is your average. This is your average. So similar way, if you calculate 1, 2, 3, 4 and 700, you are going to get a value of 142 or 143. Clear? How do you calculate your average?
Hello, sorry, there's a lot of disturbance. Somebody can mute it.
I think.
I request, sorry, Yogesh, if you ask something,
Yes.
anybody.
Hello, Kushi.
You just ask them to. You ask them to type otherwise.
Yes. So better that would be fine. If you are having any questions, you can just type on the chat window, please. Please type it on chat window. So now you all know to calculate your average, right? It is nothing but sum of all the numbers divided by number of values. Number of values is nothing but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is nothing but how many values you have, how many records you have. So this is your n, and this is nothing but your 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. But why did you get here 143? 1, 2, 3, 4, 700. Why did you get it as 143? Type your answers on chat window. Because of this one number 700, your average is changed to a greater extent, that is 143, because 700 is having extreme value. This 700 is called as an extreme value. Because of this one number, your output has been, with respect to your average, is being changed to 143 because of just one number. So this extreme value is called as outlier. This 700 is called as an outlier. So I give an example. Let me just take a real example, real-time example for this. your company announces average salary hike for this year, says that 20% is the average salary hike for this current year 2018. So for this year 2018, if you are getting some 20%, you'll think that you are getting 12 lakh rupees salary per annum. You'll calculate for 12 lakh, if it is 20%, it is 2.4 lakhs. Okay, you'll be calculating in this way. But until and unless you get your paper, you'll be thinking that I'm also getting 2.4 lakhs per annum this year hike. But after getting, you'll be getting 2% hike, and your colleagues or your team members who are SSCs, SCs, and they'll be getting 20%. Some freshers, they'll be getting 30%, some others will be getting 40%. So 40%, 30%, 20%, 2%, they'll take average of everyone and they'll make it as 20%. So for the person who is getting 3 lakh rupees salary per annum, they might have given him 40% hike. For a person who is getting 3.5 lakhs, they might have given 30% hike. For a person who is getting 5 lakh rupees salary, they might have given 20% hike. For a person who has crossed 10 lakh rupees per annum, they might have given 2% hike. So if you take average of everyone, this becomes your 20% average salary. So in this 20% average salary, what is the culprit here? This is the culprit. This is the culprit. Because of this one person who is getting 40% hike, because of this person, your average has been increased to a greater extent. Your average has been increased to a greater extent. Clear? So this 40% or this 700 number, whatever the extreme value is there towards your upper end, or it can also be lower end. So this is called as your outlier. A number in a set of data that is much bigger or much smaller than the rest of the numbers. Read this point. A number in a set of a data 1, 2, 3, 4, 700. This is a set of data that is much bigger. This 700 is much bigger than rest of the numbers. This is one case. Another case, I'll write it in this way: 100, 200, 150, 180, 170, and 2. And 2. This 2 becomes much smaller than the rest of the numbers, so that becomes your outlier. Outlier is nothing but upper extreme value, or it is called as lower extreme value. Lower extreme value. So always you should not go with your mean, because your mean is influenced by your outlier. So whenever you talk to your business, or whenever you talk to your real-time projects, you should not go with your mean, because this mean or average is influenced by outlier. Influenced by outlier. So we need to go with respect to median. We need to go with respect to median. So what is the median? Median is nothing but middle number in your data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the median for this?
3.
Don't unmute yourself. Please type your answers. What about this? What about median for this? This also 3. This also. What about this number? What is the median of this? This is also 3, because middle value of your data is called as median. So now what about this one? 1, 2, 700, 4, 3. Yes, it is not 700. Remember one thing: when you're talking with respect to median, your data should be sorted in order. Your data should be either sorted in descending or ascending order. Just sort your data like 1, 2, 3, 4, 700. Sort your data either ascending or descending. Then also your median will become 3. So that is the power of your median. When somebody asks you, hey, hey, what is your company's average salary? If they tell you that my company's average salary is 10 lakh rupees per annum, don't get exhausted with respect to, don't jump and join this thing. So just ask them, hey, what is the median salary? If they tell you that the median salary is 4 lakhs, then consider that your median salary is your salary or your friend's salary is close to this, not close to 10 lakhs. Getting my point? Whenever they tell you with respect to what was the average hike in your current year, for your current year, don't ask average hike. Ask for median hike. If they tell that average hike is 20%, then ask for median hike. If they tell you that median hike is 7%, you should conclude that you are very close to 7%, not close to 20%. So that is the reason your mean is influenced by your outlier and your median is not influenced by outlier. Your median is not influenced by outlier. Yes, I'll come to that point. Next is that only. So if you are having even numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're having 6 numbers, so what will be your no duplicate? No duplicate. What is your median for this? What is the median for this type of data? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You should take the middle value, right? What is the middle value here? It is 3 plus 4, 3 and 4 both divided by 2. It is nothing but, it is not 4. It is 3.4 is 7 divided by 2 is nothing but, it is 3.5. 3.5. So there is no point of duplicate numbers. It doesn't mean that 1, 2, 3, 4. It can also be 2, 3, 5. Again, it doesn't mean that you should remove this duplicate. This is not a set. This is just a data. This is just a data. You should take the middle value in this data as well. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 5. This is your middle number. This is your middle number. If you want to sort it, you can sort it. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 5, 4. Then you can sort it and you can take it as 3. Yes. Whatever it is, in millions of data, billions of data, whatever it is, you need to take the median. See, in your you are not going and calculating it mathematically. I'll show you with respect to how to do it in R and Python both. I'll show you how to use your R and Python for calculating mean, for calculating median also. You do not have to worry about those things. I'm just giving an example of how to calculate at the back end. How does it is being calculated in your mathematical terms or statistical terms. Now coming to this point, mode. Most common or most popular. Most common or most popular data. Most common or most popular in the sense, most occurring value in your data. Most occurring value in your data. You need not have to specify whether it is ascending or descending. Automatically your median function does it. Automatically your median function does it. I'll show you. Don't worry. No worries on that part. I'll show you. So median. Now coming to your mode. Most occurring value in your data. For example, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 4, 5. So what is the mode of this? Yes, why it is 2? Because 2 is occurring more than once. So that is the reason it is called as mode. Most occurring or most common or most popular data in your this thing. So now it is only 2. If you're having only single number as your mode, then it is called as unimode. Then it is called as unimode. Consider that you're having data like this: 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4. Then you need to consider 2 and also 3. 2 and 3 becomes your mode. 2 and 3 becomes your mode. It will not be multi-mode. It will be bi-mode. It will be bi-mode. Remember this. If you're having one more concept like this, if you're having like this 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, then you're having more than 2. That is called as 2, 3, 4, 5. In this case, if it is having more than 2 mode values, then it is called as multi-mode. Then it is called as multi-mode. There is nothing like tri-mode, 4-mode and all. Unimode, bi-mode, multi-mode. Clear for everyone? Clear for everyone? Okay. Now coming to, I've already explained you this outlier. Outlier is nothing. I want you all to calculate for this. I'll give you some values. I want you all to calculate mean for this. This is your data. X column is your data. Red, blue, green. I want you to calculate. See, whatever it is, irrespective of whatever it is, you can calculate. You cannot calculate average for this 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. Can't you calculate this? For mean and median, you can easily calculate, right? You can easily calculate. For this one, there's no problem. So calculate for this red, blue, green. What is the average of this?
You cannot calculate.
Why? Why? That is my question.
This is not integers. No?
It is not quantitative.
Quantitative.
Yes. So it is not like it is not integer or something. You cannot calculate mean for your average for your categorical data. It means that it is your non-numerical data. You cannot calculate. In this case, you should go with mode. In this case, you should go with mode. If you're having red, blue, green, there is no mode. There is no mode here. If you have one more mode, then you should go with red. So this red becomes your mode. So when you go for mode is whenever you have
multiple values,
not multiple values, categorical data. Remember that. Categorical means red, blue, green, apple, orange, grapes, like this. If you're having apart from non-numerical data anything, then you should go with respect to mode. Then you should go with respect to mode. That is the reason we have this measure called as mode. Remember that. Write down when do we go for mode is whenever we have categorical data or non-numerical data, you go with mode. You go with mode. If you don't have any repetitive word, then no average. It is not average, it is mode. Then there is no mode. You cannot tell average, Manjunath. You can just tell it as mean, mean, median, median only. You cannot call mode as average. Mode as average. If there is no repetitive data, then there is no mode. Then there is no mode. So now what we'll do is, we'll try to understand this formula for your population mean on sample mean. As I told you that it is nothing but, and remember one thing, there are two parameters. One is population, another one is sample. If there are 1 million records, this becomes your population, and out of this 1 million records, you are choosing 2 lakh records or 3 lakh records. This becomes your sample. So if you want to calculate your population mean, this population mean is denoted by this symbol called as mu. Population mean is denoted by mu. Is denoted by mu, and your sample mean is denoted by x bar. Sample mean is denoted by x bar. Population mean is denoted by mu. So here this capital N stands for number of items in the population. If you're having some 5 numbers, this will be your 5. Total number of data points in your population is called as your numbers. That is your capital N. So this N, number of items in the sample. Consider this 1, 2, 3 is my sample. How many? What is your small n? Small n is 3, and this is your population. This capital N is equal to 6. Capital N is equal to 6. And remember one thing, whenever you see mu, it is called as population mean. Whenever you see x bar, it is called as sample mean. It is sample mean. Only the formula changes here is capital N and small n. That's it, nothing else. So it is summation of I is equal to 1 until capital N xi. Xi is nothing but, let me just write it like this. This is my population. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, like this. It is something like your for loop. For loop. So first time it takes x1. X1 is 1. Summation plus x2, because I becomes I is equal to 2. I is equal to 2 is nothing but x2. X2 is nothing but 2. Again summation plus I is equal to 3. I3 x3 is nothing but 3. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 divided by total number of values is nothing but your n. That is nothing but 5. So if you calculate this, you are going to get a value that is your population mean mu. Population mean mu. Similar way, if you calculate for sample, you are having only 3 numbers in your sample. This n is equal to, small n is equal to 3, and this 1, 2, 3 you need to calculate in this way. X of I plus x of 1 plus x2 plus x3. So it is nothing but 1 plus 2 plus 3 divided by 3. So it is 6 divided by 3. So your average becomes 2. So this is nothing but your sample mean. X bar is equal to 2. X bar is equal to 2. Is it clear for everyone? How do we calculate mean and sample mean? Clear? Okay, fine. So now what I'll do is I'll try to show you how to install R, RStudio and also Python. Repeat. Okay. It is simple, Bhupendra. Formula is nothing but average formula. It is xi divided by n. You need to remember this mu and you should remember this x bar. If you don't remember formula, it is fine. It is simple. See, if you're not able to remember average formula, then it is highly difficult. It is simple average formula, right? If you're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is your x, this is your x, this becomes x1, this becomes x2, this becomes x3, this becomes x4, this becomes x5, this becomes x5. So I is equal to 1 until capital N. What is the capital N here? Capital N is nothing but 5. Yes, it keeps on iteration. So x1 is xi, x1 is 1, as it is summation plus x2 2 plus x3 3 x4 4 plus x5 is 5. So once it reaches I is equal to n, I is equal to 5, that will stop and it will come out of the loop. Is it clear, Rakesh, Bhupendra now? Rakesh, it is simple average formula. That's it. There is no rocket science behind this. There's no rocket science behind this.
So Yogesh, if you can
Yes.
go back to the sign again. So the summation sign that we are talking about, the bottom part, I equals to 1 is the start of the loop and the loop ends at n, right?
Yes.
And ends.
See.
Okay. Got it.
What is I doing? It is nothing but formula. But see, if you're having some, consider your total marks in your marks cards. How do you calculate your marks cards average or your total score average in your marks card? Consider that you are
number of subjects.
Yeah, number of subjects,
Number
right?
of
This
subjects.
is nothing. Yes, number of subjects is nothing but your n, right? Number of
Yes.
subjects, one subject, two. Totally, you're having 6 subjects. That becomes my 6. Okay. First
N
subject,
value.
x of I is equal to 1. First subject, physics. X1 is physics. X2 is chemistry. You got it now, Rahul? What is I doing?
Yep.
Okay. Instead of writing separately, I'm writing it as in this way. That's it. There is no rocket science behind this.
Sorry, Yogesh. Okay, I understood
Yes.
the average, but one thing is that in the formula, above the sigma there is a
Mhm.
capital N is there, and under the denominator is a capital N is there. So where we are using
Yes.
this two n's actually, I understood the I plus plus I plus is the for loop, that's okay, but the sigma n and x1 and divided by n, actually the meaning I didn't understand actually.
This one.
No, the upper end and lower end.
This one, right? This one and this one.
Yeah.
See, how do you calculate average? See, consider
No,
that you
is
have written some.
that
That
I
is
understood
what.
average actually,
Yes.
but the formula shows something sigma n x1 by n something like is different actually. So that's the reason I'm asking.
See, this is not different. Instead of writing it as x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5 plus x8, 6 subjects, I'm writing this as x of I. I cannot write entire formula like this, right? How long will you keep on writing? Consider that now you are having only 6 numbers, you can write up to x6. If you're having 1 million number, will you keep on writing like this formula until 1 million? So that is the reason I've used as I. I is equal to 1. This is my I is equal to 1, first record. I is equal to 2 is my second record. I is equal to 3 is my third.
That is clear. That is clear.
Yes.
What is N is being
what is above the sigma? There is a one n is there, and up, down is one more n, is it? What exactly that means?
It means that up to your last number, I is equal to 1. Up to your last number, n is your total number, right? Total 6 subjects are there. Up to your 6th subject, you need to calculate x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5 plus x6. This is your number of subjects, right? Number of records.
Okay.
Got it now?
Yeah, okay.
It is nothing but your, instead of writing it as x1 plus x2 plus x3, you're writing it as x of I. This initially for first one, it will be I is equal to 1. Then as it is summation, it becomes plus. I is equal to 2. It is not equal to n. So it will keep on iterating until your reaches your capital N, that is your number of records, last number of records.
Okay.
Okay, let me show you how to install your R and Python in today's session itself. So by Saturday and Sunday, you can just install your R and Python and you can keep it ready for next week. Just go to Google page. So just go to Google page and type as download R. Yes, I'll be covering both R and Python, Ranjini. So just go to Google page and type it as download R or else download R. Don't type it as nothing apart from R, just type it as download R. I don't know why it is taking long time. Okay, just go to Google page and type it as download R. Just download R, nothing else. So first link says that cran.r project org. Click on this, download R 3.5.1 for Windows. Click on this first link. And you can see that download R 3.5.1 for Windows. It is for 32-bit system and 64-bit, it is one and the same. You can just click on this. It is 62 MB file. It will try to download. Once it is downloaded, you need to install this. Don't just keep it in download folder. You should install it. After installing it, it will form two logos like this on your desktop after installation or not after downloading it. So after installation, you'll be able to see this logo on your desktop, that is R. So this is your R. This is your R. So this is something like your command prompt. This is something like your command prompt. So you can just type it as 2 plus or 2 minus 2. 2 minus 2 answer is 0. 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. 3 into 5. 3 into 5 is 15. If you want to calculate 3 divided by 4, it is 0.75. If you want to take exponential, 3 into 3, 3. So it will become 3 3 is 9 3 is 27. It will be, yes, you can install it in Ubuntu also. You can install it in your MacBook also. So this is your R. This is your R. And if you want to clear the screen, just type it as Control L. Control L, it will clear the screen. This is called as R. This is called as R. Don't just install R. I'll show you how to install your GUI as well. How to install your GUI similar to your R Studio. Just go to Google page and I'll show you how to install for Ubuntu as well as your MacBook. Download R for Linux. Type it as download R for Linux. The comprehensive R network. You'll be able to see, if I click on this, you'll be able to see that download R for Linux, download R for MacBook, download R for Windows. Either you can choose anyone based on your system requirements. Based on your system, which system you're using, you can download any one of this. Any one of these. This is your R. This is your R. Coming to after installation of R, you should be able to see the logo on your desktop. After that, you need to download R Studio. R Studio. Download R Studio.
What is the difference between R and R Studio?
I'll come to that point. I'll come to that point. First, let me show you how to install. Then I'll show you what is the difference and what is the beauty of R Studio. Download R Studio. So you can see that R Studio desktop, first one is free. First one is free. You can just click on this download button. If you click on that download button, it will come to this point. Installers for supported platforms. First one is R Studio Windows Vista 7, 8 and 10. If you are using Windows, first link. Second one is for MacBook. Third one is for Ubuntu based on your 32-bit, 64-bit OS. And last two are for your Red Hat. Don't go for zip or tarballs. Go for installers. Go for installers. Click on whatever the version you are using, Windows or Mac or Ubuntu, whatever you are using. Just try to download this. Just try to download this. After downloading this, you need to install. After downloading this, you need to install. After installation of this, go to your start button. Go to your start button. Type it as R Studio. Type it as R Studio. You'll be able to see this logo on your start button. If you type it as R Studio, R Studio, you'll be able to see this R Studio. I'll explain R Studio. Well, let me complete that part and let me open R Studio. After opening R Studio, you'll be getting a window like this. R Studio is nothing but your graphical user interface. It is not similar to your command prompt like what you saw in R. It is something like your graphical user interface. You'll be able to see your R Studio in this way. You'll be able to see this R Studio in this format.
Answer also coming here. Okay.
Yes.
Can you please explain how to download R Studio line by line?
Just now I explained, I guess.
Yes, I missed it.
Go to download R Studio.
Okay. What are the files I need to download? That's what my installers.
Only one file. That's it. Only installers. Only one file.
Only installers.
Only installers. I told you, right? If you are using Windows, use that. If you are using Mac OS, that is separate. If you are using Ubuntu, that is separate. It is just a downloadables. That's it. Nothing else.
Sorry, Yogesh. Sorry, Yogesh.
Yes.
This installation you should do in the C drive only or D drive?
You can do it in anywhere. You can do it anywhere.
Any environment setting or path setting is required?
Nothing. Go for default. Go for default settings. That would be better.
Okay.
Nothing, but if you just double click on that, it will ask for next. Just click on next. Nothing to worry on that part. Okay, so you'll be getting a window like this. Once you open your first time, if you open your RStudio, you'll be getting a window like this. You'll be getting a window like this. So just click on this part for the first time when you are opening. Just click on this plus mark and click on this R script. You'll be getting a window like this. You'll be getting a window like this. So this is your console window. This top one is called as your console window. Let me just write it. What are these windows? This is your console window, and this is your editor window. This is your editor window. So what is this editor window does is, whatever you type the programs, you can type it here and you can execute it. See, let me type it as 2 plus 2. And if you just enter, it will not run. You need to click on this button called as run button. See, the output has been displayed on your console. On the below window, there is something called as console. You will be able to see your output on that console. Or if you want to see 3 minus 2, either you can use this run button, or if you want to use your shortcut button, you can run by typing it as 4 plus 8. So instead of using this run button, you can use control enter. You can keep the cursor on anywhere on that particular line and you can use control enter. If you use that control enter, you're able to see that it has been displaying your output on your console window. Like this, you can use your, so make sure that now onwards, at least for some days, instead of using your inbuilt calculator, use your R as your inbuilt calculator. Whenever you want to do some calculation, don't use inbuilt calculator. To make some hands-on on your R, that's it. To get some practice on your R, just use RStudio or R, whatever it is. If you run this, you'll be getting your answers. So whatever you're typing, you can type it in your editor window and you'll be able to see the output on your console window. If you want to clear the console, you can just type it as Control L. If you type it as Control L, it will clear the screen on your console window.
So you can use either one. Right, Yogesh?
Yes.
So you can use either R or RStudio.
See, better is use RStudio. I told you, right? Because it is just a command prompt in your R, you will not be able to do some visualization very effectively in your R. So that is the reason we are going to use RStudio.
Okay. So you
okay. Something for your visualization purpose, but that is better. This is better. RStudio is better. But if you directly install RStudio, it will never work. Remember one thing. You should install first R, then only you should install RStudio. If you directly install RStudio, it will never work. It will never work. Now, either you can type your program on your console window also. Directly you can type it here as well. See, I'm typing on my console window as my 2 minus 2 and I'm giving it as enter. If you just enter here, you'll be able to see your output. 3 plus 4. 3. It is nothing but if you use 2 stars means what it is? It is your exponential. 3 3s are 9 3s are 27. So if you use, either you can type it on your console window or editor window. But the problem, what is the problem with respect to your console window? Consider that you are typing everything on your console window. If you don't save it, if somebody types or you only for by mistake, if you type Control L, everything will go. Everything will go. You will not be able to recover that code. You will not be able to recover the program. So that is the reason you cannot type console part. So don't go with respect to console. Always type it in your untitled editor window. If you want to save it, just type it as Control S, and you'll be able to save your codes by using an extension called as .r. Okay, now coming to this global environment window. So what is this global environment window does is, if you create a variable, for example, I want to create a variable called as A and I'm assigning a value called as 2 for this. A is equal to 2. If you write this A is equal to 2, this value is being stored in a variable, 2 is being stored in a variable called as A. So you can see that in your global environment window. Yes.
So directly you have mentioned A equal to 2 you know you no need to give data types and all, nothing, or simply we'll
Nothing,
give the values.
nothing. See, you can just write it as like this: b is equal to 2.13. B is
No
equal to
decimal, nothing.
2.3. Nothing. See, that is the beauty of R. That is the beauty of R. You need not have to specify
How about the
2.3
string
as
values?
string values. Means you mean to say
Some alphabetical words. Name, hello, something. Yeah. So it will take that
this?
also.
It will not take with respect to directly like that.
I think give single code. Yeah.
Yes, you need to
Yeah. Now
write
it's
it in single quote. Then
taking.
it will take b is equal to art, c is
Got
equal
it.
to
Got it.
dart, whatever it is. So if you want to use your character, you need to specify it within single quote. If you don't specify, you are going to get an object art not found. Object art
Got
not
it.
found. Clear?
Got it.
See,
Good.
you can make it as cart, dart, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So this is your
Single or
global
double
environment.
code, everything is taken.
Yes, whatever it is, it works. Whatever it is, it works. So you can see that global environment window says A is being assigned with a value called as 2, B is being assigned with a value called as dart, and let me change it to C. Let me change it to.
Yogesh, I'm not able to open your RStudio. I downloaded it actually.
Did you install R first?
Yeah, I installed.
Did you install RStudio?
RStudio, both I installed.
Go to start button, type it as RStudio. You will be able to 100%. There's no chance that you cannot. There's no chance that you cannot view. You will be able to view. I am 100% sure that you are doing some mistake. After installation, go to start button and type it as RStudio like this.
I clicked it, but it's not opening.
It will not. It is not opening in the sense.
Now it is open.
You have to wait for the first time. You should wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
I need to
Yogesh.
click on plus mark. Something you told about plus mark. What I need to do? Create new R or script?
Yes, if you want to save it, whatever the values you are typing here, if you want to save it, you can just go. Okay. If you want to open this editor window, click on this plus mark.
Okay.
See, please remember one thing. Whenever I'm explaining, please try to concentrate. Later, you can do after the class. You can spend 30 minutes and you can do it everything. Meanwhile, if you are doing on the session itself, you'll not be able to follow the session, as well as you are disturbing others.
Yes, humble request from my side also. I mean, it's been disturbing the flow. It's very difficult, you know.
That is the reason I'm telling everyone, please concentrate on the class. Later part, you can spend 30 minutes, you can install it, you can try whatever I've shown. Please concentrate. If you want to save it, just click on this. And if you want to save, go to File, Save As. Save As, give an extension with whatever you want, basics of R, basic.R. Small r, you can give the extension and you can save it, basic.R. So I'm not saving it because I've already saved it multiple times. So if you want to access these values, you can just click it as A. What is there in A? If you just type it as A and if you run this, you are going to get a value of 2 because we have assigned A as 2. If you type it as B, you'll be getting a value of 2 dart because we have assigned a dart. And if you type it as C, you're going to get it as 2.3. And either you can click on this run button or else you can click on, or else you can use your shortcut keyboard called as Control Enter. Keyboard shortcut. On your shortcut on your keyboard is Control Enter. Control Enter, Control Enter.
So the global environment, it always shows all the variables, whatever you do declare in the
whatever
editor.
the variables, whatever the input variables, whatever you are creating, it will show all of those things. All of those things. Yes, tell me, Ratnesh. String is, yes, I'm writing within single quotes, right? Single quotes or double quotes, you can use it. That's it, nothing else. String is written in this format, dart. That's it. So now, in your R programming, don't use equal to as your assignment operator. Don't use this equal to as an assignment operator. In order to just showcase that what is this equal to do is, it is assigning a value called as A to 2, 2 to A, 2.3 to A, whatever it is. But instead of using equal to, best practice to use is this symbol. You need to use this symbol to store your value. For example, X, I'm assigning it as 23. Instead of using is equal to, use this function, use this symbol, that is less than symbol and hyphen. This is the best practice for a data science professional to use this symbol. Less than symbol and hyphen symbol is called as assignment operator. If you type it as x less than hyphen 23, your x is being created with a value of 23. Value of 23. If I run x, you will be able to see that it is 23. It is 23.
So, Yogesh, what's the difference between equal to and this sign?
There is there is no difference. There is no difference, but actually the thing is, earlier in the first version, second version of your RStudio and R, equal to was not working. We were accompanied with this, using this particular symbol, less than symbol and hyphen for your assignment operator. But nowadays, equal to has been installed in a recent package. So that's the reason we are not acquainted with respect to this equal to. It is one and the same, but the best practice is to use this. Best practice is to use this. That's it, nothing else. Now, coming to this below window, there is files, plots, packages, all these things. So in your C programming, C++ programming and all, you used to install some packages, libraries, right? Hash include stdio.h, hash include main.h, hash include util.h, hash include io.h. Similar to your libraries in your C, C++ and Java, here also we have something called as packages. Here also we need to install some packages. So base packages, everything will be installed. Base packages, everything will be installed. It is nothing but the line number, Ratnesh. It is nothing but line number. First line, you have just learned run first line, right? That's it, nothing else. For each and every line, it is displaying the number. That's it. It is just an index part. It is just an index part, nothing else. Now, similar to your packages, you need to install called as, yes, library. I'm coming to this library. So similar to your C, C++ and Java libraries, we have something called as packages in your RStudio. You need to install some packages as well. If you don't find some particular packages, you need to go to this tools. There is section called as install packages. Packages are nothing but your libraries. Packages are nothing but your libraries. If you want to install package, you need to click on this. You need to click on tools, install packages. Tools, install packages. You will be getting a window like this. You'll be getting a window like this. If you want to install some package, for example, now I'll show you only one simple package. As and how I explain with respect to multiple packages and the next sessions, I'll be showing which particular package has to be installed for which one. But most of the base packages will be installed when you install your R and RStudio itself. Almost all the basic packages will be installed. But if you want to perform some operation, you need to install some packages. For that packages, I'm going to show you here. So let me just take an example of, there is a package called as ggplot2. ggplot2. This is used for plotting your histograms, box plots, bar plots, all those things. So that is the reason I'm choosing this ggplot2, and always this install dependency should be check marked. Click on install. Because I've multiple times I've installed, and this RStudio I'm not opening now because I'll be using regularly for my office also. That's the reason it is asking, do you want to restart R prior to installing? I'll give it as no. For you, you'll not be getting that for the first time. See, it is installing, but make sure that while installing, you should be connected to your internet, because this is going to be downloaded from your R package, R site, that is your cran.r site. So while installing, you should be connected to internet. See, package ggplot is in use because I've already using that, so that's the reason it is not showing it as it is installed. ggplot2. See, I've already installed this. That's the reason it is showing package ggplot2 is in use and will not be installed. So if you want to install any new package, you can use it. Let me just type it as car. Car is also a package. Let me try to install this. Let me just give it as yes itself. Restarting R. Now it starts R along with my installation. Make sure that you connect it to internet. Install.packages car. is running. See, this red mark says that you are installing something and it is under process. If this red mark stops, then only you should go for next step. It is still installing. It takes some 30 seconds to 1 minute. See, it starts downloaded. It will so package car successfully unpacked and MD5 sums checked. Yes, Ratnesh, tell me. Instead of telling I have one doubt, you can just ping the doubt. What is your doubt? Yes, you cannot directly use it as write package. Instead of going this install packages, you can also write in a coding format like this, install dot packages. This one I'll show you in the next sessions as well. How to use, how to import data sets, everything I'm going to show you in the next session. Don't worry on that. Instead of using packages, this is a simple way. If you are not good in coding, you can use this install dot packages. But if you love coding, you can write it as install dot packages, open parenthesis, you can write it as car. If you run this also, it will also do the same thing, install dot packages. Install dot packages. It will also do same thing. Sorry, I have written something x equal to. That's the reason it is giving some error. How to know which package to use? You will not come to know how to know which package to use. For that, you need to go and just Google it. If you are having some, see, almost all the basic packages will be installed. But if you are performing some specific operation, like for example, we'll see, I'll show you how to identify all those things. It is just a basic part, right? You should understand how to install. Later, I'll show you each and everything. Please have some patience. It is not your 15th class or 20th class. It is just a second class. That too, you're just learning how to install. Don't jump into conclusion that I'm going to complete everything in one day. Okay, and this plot section will give you, if you plot something, if you plot your histogram, box plot, bar plot, everything will be displayed on this plot section. Everything will be displayed on this plot section. And if you want to get some particular help section, this is something like a manual guide. If you want to know about more thing about, see, this plot section is nothing but if you're plotting some graphs, if you're plotting box plot, bar plot, histogram, that plots will be displayed in this section. That plots will be displayed in this section. We'll see each and everything on a daily basis. We'll try to explore each and every topic. So this help section is something like your manual. This is your help section, which is your manual. If you want to know about mean, you can type it as mean. If you type it as mean and if you click on enter, this is your manual guide for mean function. Mean function. It is something like your manual or guide. Manual or guide. So once you install some packages, where to see is you can click on this packages. If you click on this packages, you'll be able to see multiple packages. So these are the installed packages that is available in your RStudio. So let me just clear this point. You'll be able to see multiple packages that are in your RStudio. See, ABind, ACEP. Like this, you can check what are the packages that are available in your RStudio. Either you can use here also, you can use installed.packages. Instead of, if you love coding, you can use this. If you use this, you're going to get the package names, everything that has been installed with respect to this version, which version of our packages have been installed. So if you don't love coding, go to this packages and you can see here itself. Is it clear for everyone how to use your R? How to use it in your RStudio? You should have some patience. Don't jump into conclusion that I'm going to become master in 10 days or 5 days. You should have patience. First, you should understand how the tool works, what are the basics of tools, everything. Please make sure that you practice it. Don't jump into conclusion. Today only I'm going to install, I am going to write a library, I'm going to create a package, I'm going to implement linear regression. Yes, you need to first install First you need to sit, then you need to stand, like that. Step by step you should do. Don't worry, I'll be taking care of each and everything in a same way with respect to small basics also I'm going to teach you, but you should have some patience. Don't ask me some advanced level questions, because it will be disturbing for others also if I jump into that particular topics. Okay, so this is how you need to install your R and RStudio. And coming to Python, I'll show just 2 minutes. In just 2 minutes, I'll show you how to download Python as well. And you can keep it ready by Monday or Tuesday, not a problem, because we'll not be using again for 2 to 3 days. Again, we are going to talk about basics of statistics. Basics of statistics. So go to Google page, type it as download Python. Download Python. That's it. Nothing else. Click on this download Python, python.org/downloads. Okay, so now there is only one version called as download the latest version for Windows. Click on this download Python 3.7.0. Click on this. So I'll cancel it because I've already installed it. I'll cancel it. Just click on this. Install download Python 3.7.0. After downloading it, you need to install it. Don't keep it in your downloads folder. It will never work. It will never work. And one more important thing, after installation of download of Python and installing it, go to Google page again. Go to Google page again. Type it as download Anaconda. Write down this. ANACONDA. Download Anaconda. Like your Python is your R. Python is your R. Python is your R. And similar to your RStudio, I'm installing Anaconda now. Similar to your RStudio, it is Anaconda. So click on this Python Anaconda Cloud. Python Anaconda Cloud. Just click on that. Don't click anything else. Just open that link. Just open that link. See, on the About toolbar, there is something called as download Anaconda. Before your sign in button, wherever I'm hovering my mouse, there is a button called as download Anaconda. Click on this. This word seems to be new for you all. Anaconda, RStudio, R, Python, ML, AI, mean, median, mode, everything seems to be new, but this is data science. This is machine learning. Click on this download Anaconda. It will take to another page. It will take to, yes, Microsoft product is R, not Python. R is acquired by Microsoft. Now, if you type it as Microsoft R, you'll be able to see that there is a version for Microsoft version of R also. That is a paid version. That is a paid version. Microsoft has acquired R. It is still loading Python Anaconda Cloud. So let me just click on this download Anaconda once again. See, if you click on the download Anaconda, you'll be able to see this download the anaconda.com. What is the percentage of using R and Python in data science? Both are very much important. 49% is Python, R is 51%. Both of them are neck to neck. Both of them are neck to neck. Download Anaconda distribution. You'll be able to see this page. If you want to install, see here, download for Windows, MacBook, and Linux. Whichever you are using, click on that button. If you click on this, download Windows, Anaconda 5.2 for Windows. Here you can see that download Mac, Linux, Windows. Because we have installed Python 3.6 later version, you should click on this part. You should only use this Python 3.6 version because we have installed Python 3.7. So for 3.7, we don't have specific Anaconda. You should use only 3.6 download. So under that, there is something called as 64-bit and 32-bit OS. What is this Mega? 51 and 49? What do you mean by that?
Percentage of usage. We can use
Yes,
either of it, but the most known is R, and we can use Python as well.
Yes, R and Python, yes. R and Python, R is 51% in the market share. I'm talking about the market share of R, and Python is 49. This was in 2017, December. In March 2018, it was opposite to this, 52% and 48%. This is your Python, this is your R. And latest report was on June. In June, it is 53% R and again 47% Python, because both of them are contributing more towards data science. That is the reason it is competing neck to neck each other. Yep. And the beauty of data science with respect to statistics part is R, because this R tool is derived from a language called as S. This is purely by statisticians. Because of seeing this popularity of R, Python was nowhere until 2015. They were not using anything with respect to data science. Rapidly, they have started contributing to data science. So it has acquired, if you see SAS and all, they have gone back. It is a sinking ship now. So this is the reason it is R and Python are competing with each other. Yes, you can, whatever you can achieve it in R, you can achieve it in Python. Whatever you can do it in Python, you can do it in R. Only one difference is if you are good in programming, that too if you are from Java background, then you will love Python. If you are not good in coding part, then you will love R. But my suggestion is, don't just rely on one tool. Try to concentrate on both the tools, because if you go for an interview, they might ask you the preference. If you tell them that only R or only Python, they might give the preference for whoever tells R and Python both. That's the reason, concentrate on both the tools. So this will be the next IT revolution when it comes to your data science. This tool will be the market king.
Sorry, Yogesh.
Yes.
How we decide if anything you are doing, whether we should do it in the Python or with R?
See, if your client says that you want to do it in Python, you should do it in Python. If you are telling it as R, you have to do it in R. It depends. That's it. You cannot take the decision of your clients. Or else, sometimes what happens is your client says that I don't want to do it in R and Python both. I'll provide you SAS licensed version. Then you have to learn SAS also. Because some projects they might tell. That it is not a problem for me. I'm ready to spend $6,000 US for your license.
Because
so whatever
Python and R is a free software, you're saying. Why
yes,
the customers to say? Why customers to tell us to use the Python or software? Because you are the IT provider. You should take decision.
No. You cannot take the decision. See, if you tell them that go for R and Python, consider that your client has already purchased SAS license last year. He has already purchased this SAS license. He has already invested in this SAS. Why you want to make it as waste? He will tell you to use the same license.
So SAS is a R or Python?
It is not SAS, is not R, not Python. It is a different tool itself.
Okay.
It is a different tool. But
suppose
whatever you can do it, whatever you can do it in SAS. Yes.
So customer don't have SAS or anything, then you want to do some project. So
then you can guide them R and Python. You can guide them. We can do it in R or Python because both of them are open source, freeware. It is like that. So click on this Python 3.6. If it is 64-bit, 32-bit, you need to download as per your system requirement and install it. Don't just keep it in your download folder. You need to install it. After downloading, just go to this start button and type it as Anaconda. You will be getting Anaconda Navigator. You'll be getting Anaconda Navigator. Just double click on this. If you just double click on this, it will take approximately around 10 to 15 minutes. For first time, it might take around 5 minutes of time to load all the libraries, packages, and to see your open window. Open window. So until that point, you should have patience. Don't think that it is not something like your command prompt. If you type CMD, it will open. It will take some time to open. So after this, I'll show you how to use your Anaconda, Jupyter Notebook, and also Spider Notebook for your implementation of your Python programs. So as of now, I explained you RStudio, right? Similar to that, we are also having Spider Notebook, Jupyter Notebooks under Anaconda. I'll try to show you it on Monday or Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to explain that how to open Jupyter Notebook, how to launch your Spider Notebook, all those things.
Sorry, Yogesh, what is Jupyter? And again, this one, because Anaconda is different and Jupyter is different.
No. I'll tell you. That's the reason you should have patience. Who is this?
Sorry, okay. Sorry.
Satish, I'm telling you, you should wait for some days until and unless you cannot have everything in a single go. Please wait. First, install Python, RStudio, Anaconda, everything. Keep it ready. Next, whenever I start my next practical session, I'll try to show you what is Anaconda, what is Spider, what is Jupyter. Because if you see these names, you can see this Python is some snake name, and for Anaconda it is a big snake name, and under that there is Jupyter, under that there is Spider. All this seems to be new, but it is your favorite different flavors of your Python, different flavors of your Anaconda flavors. That's it, nothing else. I'll show you what are all those things. But majority we'll be using Python, Anaconda, Jupyter, Anaconda, Spider or Jupyter we'll be using. I'll show you how to use both of them. So we'll stop at this point. Make sure that you install RStudio and try to play with your numbers. A is equal to 1, 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 3, whatever it is. So just make sure that you are practicing whatever you have seen in today's session. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll be sharing the videos by tomorrow. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.